Blasi is here with us now. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Now, how would you describe the sound of the music that you make?
Well, my the music that I make, see, I'm an old soul.
Hmm.
I'm 30 years old, but um, I'm so used to like the old ways, like old music and such. So I always felt like I was born in the wrong time period. So
Yeah,
I am a MC. I rap, and it's more of a I'm mixing both worlds. So I
yeah,
have a like a golden era flow. It's like an old school type of flow, but I try to bridge that gap with the music of today, because
yeah.
there's like a disconnect. You got the old school guys, like, oh, the new guys, they don't know nothing about music, and then you got the new guys, oh, that's the old way. And it's just like there's this gap. So
Yeah.
I want to be that bridge that bridges both of those gaps, so we can be in harmony, so we can all love music and get that love for music like we used to have.
Yeah, it helps to have a range of audience, the young and old, can
Yes,
listen to it together.
absolutely.
And you are an occult comedian as well, right?
Yes, and I know, and I say I put occult comedian because when usually when people
Hmm.
hear that word occult, they're like, "Ooh, that must be devil worship." That were you in a cult? Is that what you're trying to say? You in a cult?
Yeah.
But no, occult simply means knowledge of the hidden,
Hmm.
and that's everything that I'm about. I'm into the mysteries of life, the things that people do that we don't talk about. Like those, we all have those thoughts about people that we don't really talk about on the surface. Those
Yeah.
are the things that I like to talk about, and that something that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Just that hidden understanding, and there's so much funny in the hidden things in life.
Yeah. And do you take those things that you notice and put them in your music?
Absolutely. I sure do. A lot of my music, even I am a music comedian as well. I do write parody music, but a
Oh
lot
yeah.
lot that I learn from occult science, from spirituality, just living all together. I take that and put it into the music as well.
Hmm. Do you enjoy writing parody music? Because it does sound like quite a fun thing to do.
Oh, yes, actually, before I decided to perform music on my own, I was
Hmm.
just writing songs for there was a guy in St. Louis, Missouri in the United States. He has a show, and he asked me if I could
Yeah.
write some parody music for him. So through writing this parody music, it helped me to understand songwriting a little more and to write for myself. So it was very fun, doing Lizzo parodies and
Oh.
parodies of like Beyonce, just different
Hmm.
parodies of different people, just having fun with it.
Yeah. And when you first started to get into creating music and writing, how did that all come about?
Well, so back in 2015, I was working a job that I didn't want to be at,
Hmm.
and I remember just walking home and I was listening to music. And uh you ever listen to a song, and I guess the song hits you at the right point, at the right moment, at the right time. It's like this, everything connects.
Yeah.
And I just looked up at the sky. I'm like, God, like, okay, well, I love music. What am I supposed to be doing with this? Like, this music feels too good for me not to be doing anything.
Hmm.
So after that, a couple of months later, I ended up signing up for a music school, which it closed.
Oh.
But you familiar with the rapper Nelly?
Yes.
Okay, so he had in St. Louis, Missouri, he helped with a music program called Extreme Institute by Nelly. Shout
Hmm.
out to anybody from Extreme Institute that may hear this.
Yeah.
But he had a music program teaching the music side, music business and music engineering. So I went into that program, started with the music engineering, um, decided to go over to the music business, and that's where I learned songwriting,
Yeah.
contracts and publishing, the business side of things. I wasn't even trying to do music. I was trying to learn the backside of it,
Yeah.
and now I'm using that to be on in the spotlight.
And do you take the engineering you learnt and produce your own songs with that?
Yeah, see, I wasn't the best engineer,
Oh,
which is
right.
why I kind of that's why I moved over to the music business side. But
Yeah.
definitely there were some things like even basic things when it came to engineering that I even use for recording my podcast, even though it's maybe simple engineering, but it's
Yeah.
still things that I've learned from taking those classes.
Yeah. Stuff that you would find a lot easier than the average person.
Yes, yes.
So your podcast is called The Left Hand Perspective. Are you left-handed?
I am
I
left-handed.
take it that
Yes.
might be where the name came from then.
Yes, yes.
So what do you like to do in that podcast?
Well, the Left Hand Perspective is a podcast for anyone on the path to self-mastery.
Hmm.
About 3 years ago, I wanted to understand myself a little deeper. I was tired of the habits that I was, constantly going through, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
know more about myself, about life. So I didn't realize that I was going on this journey, and that's my motivation for waking up in the morning, self-mastery. I don't consider myself a master of life just
Yeah.
yet, but I am a student of self-mastery. And through that, I've learned that there's actually other people that are going through this same journey. It can be a very lonely journey when you're trying to find out who you are and
Yeah.
what's your purpose in life. But, you know, I wanted the podcast to be where I can center in and talk about these things and speak directly to those folks who are going through those things, who feel like they're alone, just to hone in to like, you're not alone on this, and we're all going through this together. We will master the self together. So it's a podcast to help anyone who's had these mysteries of life, spirituality, occult, anything really that has to do with self-mastery. That's what I like to talk about on the show.
Yeah, and who do you appeal to? Is it just those people, or would you recommend it to anyone at all that may not even have those issues?
I would recommend that everyone check it out, but specifically, I would say it is for if anybody is the black sheep of the family,
Yeah.
or that oddball. I'm a lefty, so I've always been different my whole life. So
Yeah.
this is for
Lefty as in
anybody.
handed.
Yes, yes, yeah, left-handed. I do have to tell people that because I remember I was at the coffee shop and talking about my left hand, and somebody was like, "Oh, you a lefty? You one of them liberals, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I'm a Pisces," but that's another story. But anybody who just felt different or felt out of place, that has been trying to find themselves, and just it's like everywhere that you look, you can't seem to find home.
Yeah.
This podcast is for you.
Absolutely. Do you listen to any other podcasts at all?
I do, man. Just the fact that I'm doing a podcast now, I never
Yeah.
expected to do this, but Joe Rogan's podcast, I've been listening to that since about 2012.
Mm.
And different podcasts that I find on YouTube. It's a lot of good stuff out there. Some podcasts that I find I to anybody who's a podcast and I don't know the names of them, I'm sorry. Sometimes I go through different podcasts for different subjects to hear people's experiences and such. So,
Hmm.
but Joe Rogan's podcast was definitely the first influence for me.
Yeah. What would you say the appeal is of a podcast? Because I'm still trying to work it out myself. Do you think it's because, I don't know, the accessibility of it?
Man, so I know, well, for me, see, I was always an audible learner.
Yeah.
I play music by ear. So anything that has to do with music or ear, that's how I learn. So it's something about me with listening to a person's story rather, than just like watching a video. But for me, the audio and getting into that story and coming up with the visual in my mind, it actually helps me to understand the speaker a lot better. It helps me to like with the
Mm.
podcast, you feel like you are a part of that. You feel connected to that voice
Yeah.
who's speaking, to those stories. So it's very podcast can make it makes you feel at home.
Yeah.
Like they're actually sitting next to you having this conversation.
Yeah, it's a one-to-one medium. You're
Yes,
talking
yes.
to a friend, really.
Yes.
And for your music, do you consider yourself part of a particular genre?
You know how a lot of people, they be like, oh, my music isn't in a particular genre. My music is for everybody. I mean, I am a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
So I would say hip hop, but the music is influenced by other genres. It's like I'm influenced by choir music. I'm choral music, classical, rock and roll. Like these are all parts of music, and I'm able to take from different influences to come up with my style and come up with my story. So, but I'm a hip hop artist.
Yeah, it's good to have that variety, isn't it?
Yes,
And
definitely.
who do you look up to in music? Do you have anyone that has inspired you?
Oh man, uh, Stevie Wonder,
Oh yeah.
Stevie Wonder, D'Angelo, Prince,
Mm,
Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones.
yeah,
And there's a
absolutely.
lot of people in music that are behind the scenes that write these songs that nobody knows their names. They may know Diane Warren, I
Oh
believe her,
yeah.
wonderful songwriter. I did mention Quincy Jones. There are so many people out there. But I would definitely say Prince really opened me up to music in a way that I've never been opened up before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as a hip hop artist, those influences aren't all necessarily hip hop, although
That sounds crazy, right?
influences in their genre are still there, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I know I didn't mention any hip hop artists. I mean, I will say like KRS-One,
Mm,
but I never expected this is what I wanted to get around, that I
yeah,
never expected to be a hip hop artist. I was always a singer. I was always into, so you see, like, I'm influenced by these different singers and whatnot.
yeah,
I never expected to be hip hop, but this is what I am, and this is a part of it. But it's weird. Like
yeah.
I'm influenced by like singers and whatnot, but it comes out in me through rap, through hip
Yeah.
hop.
Are you glad that you're doing hip hop and not opera or something?
Oh man, like, because I am, because
Yeah.
now, like, I used to sing, but I didn't have the singing voice of, like, like a Michael Jackson or anybody,
Yeah.
but I was good. I could hold the note. But when it comes to actually doing rap or hip hop, well, I can still take that soul that I was taught from music and then just apply it to my words and apply it into my flow. So I don't have, I ain't got to sing no high notes or nothing, but I can flow like it ain't nobody's business.
Absolutely. And do you have any highlights in the years that you've been doing music that stand out to you?
Oh man, 2020 is actually this is my first year as a hip hop artist.
And what a year to start.
What a year, man. It was a long time coming. But
Yeah.
I released I released a vinyl. There's a guy from the UK, shout out to Clandest. He reached out to me from Instagram. He's like, "Hey, I saw your videos on YouTube. I love your flow. You have a golden era flow. Do you want to do a vinyl?" I'm like, "What? A vinyl?" But then I thought about it, like, hip hop artists back in the day, they looked like a vinyl meant something, to have something, it goes deeper than a digital download, to have an
Yeah.
actual something that you can, even put on your wall. So
Oh yeah.
I put out a vinyl in June with it was a it's a I'm sorry, it's like a dedication to the old school, but ushering in the new school.
Yeah. And do you think that vinyl has a better sound to it? Because I think there's an ongoing debate about CDs are all compressed and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And vinyls definitely have there's a particular sound that comes with vinyl that you just don't like. You know, like when your mom put on a record or your dad put on a record, to hear that pop or to hear that it,
Yeah.
there's memories connected to every little piece of that, and that's something that is taken out of with digital. Like digital, it makes it easier today, obviously,
Mm.
but with the vinyl, there are certain memories connected to every little piece of what it is that you're hearing, everything that you're seeing, from taking the vinyl out of the cover to putting it on. There's memories. You have childhood memories of this. So it's very important for me and Clandest to even encapsulate that same feeling.
Yeah. Well, where are we able to check out your music online and purchase the vinyl as well then?
Well, you can check out, if you want to purchase the vinyl, you can go to hiphopbebop.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you can type in Blaze, which is BLA.ZE. I know somebody's like, well, that's just Blaze. Just BLA.ZE. You can type that in. It'll show you the vinyl. It'll also show you the music videos to the songs as well. And but if you want to listen to the songs digital download, you can go to Clandest, and that's CLANDEST.bandcamp.com.
Great. And are you on social media as well for us to check out your profile and see what you're getting up to?
I am. You can catch me on the Left Hand Perspective. The Instagram is the Left Hand Perspective. That's the podcast. Gmail. That's the podcast Instagram, but also Blaze Bay on Instagram.
Great. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.